Okay, Mrs. Sanchez, I think we're good, ma'am.
Okay.
First of all, thank you for being here again, Mrs. Sanchez. They asked us to tell you a little bit about ourselves. As you know, I was at Memorial for 15 years, 14, I think, 13, I don't know, I lost count after like 10 minutes. And Dr. Cantu asked me if I could transfer over here, and I wasn't sure. I thought about it for, I think, a week and a half, and in the end, I'm glad that I did decide to come over here. At the beginning, maybe the first few months since I said, what did I do? But I am glad that I'm here, miss.
But we talk about change, and change is difficult.
No, miss, and I feel like, more than anything, I really have an affinity for these kids, miss. I really like these kids, miss.
Right. This is where
These
we
are-
can see our best work, reflect, and
I think it's the most rewarding.
Most
It's what it is, miss, the most rewarding. So I do appreciate being here. The goal, ma'am, of the internship, of the practicum, is to expose the intern to the profession of an administrator through hands-on experiences and activities, to provide an overview and requirements of the principal internship program for all members, discuss ongoing and future projects to complete, to fulfill the requirements of observation 1, and also plan observation 2 and observation 3. They didn't ask us, they give us more or less of an outline, examples of outlines as to what we can present. I felt that, as busy as we are, ma'am, that I should add this, because I really do appreciate you being my mentor, ma'am. The mentor is an experienced role model who guides the professional development of a less experienced individual through coaching. The principal mentoring relationship is a rewarding endeavor that enhances each person's career. I don't know if you've ever mentored anybody before, ma'am, as far as doing the practicum.
no.
Both the mentor and the intern learn more about themselves, improve their skills, and gain professional recognition. It is an opportunity for the principal mentor to give back to the profession through sharing leadership, knowledge, and skills. And also, thanks to your mentoring, I will be better prepared for the role of campus leader.
Yeah.
I also understand that this requires you give your time and expertise. In return, I give you my word to always do what is best in the interest of the students, as I feel that you do, Mrs. Sanchez. I feel that any decision that you make is not everybody might be happy with it, but I think you do it in the interest of the students, and I think that's what I can give back as
You
well.
always do that, so you will always be okay in the decisions that you make.
Right. The purpose of mentoring, ma'am, to improve the quality of leadership, to develop a pool of administrators, provide on-the-job development, create a link between theory and practice. Just like teaching, I feel through college, I thought, man, I'm learning so much. And then when I went into the classroom, I was like, man, I didn't learn anything. And I think this is the same thing. I've done the master's degree, but unless I practice it, como me dijo usted, I'll learn more once I'm doing it. And also to recognize the expertise of experienced administrators. The benefits, you get recognition as a successful administrator, and I do hear when principals, even yourself, Mr. Salinas, or whoever it is, oh, my mentor, they'll say, oh, because my mentor taught me this, or I learned what not to do, in some cases I learned from the mentor. But for the most part, I think that recognition is there, and I mean, you being my mentor, if I'm ever an administrator, I'm always gonna say, well, Mrs. Sanchez was my mentor, and I think that
You should always have somebody that you can trust and you can rely on to ask questions.
right, exactly.
Because you don't know anything until, it takes time. So I'm still learning, and so I have someone, I worked with Mr. Marquez for 6 years, and for 4 years. I trust him, and he's good. And so anytime I have questions, I ask him.
Right. Right.
So,
Yeah.
as an assistant principal, you always have people that you work with, that you can very closely work with them once you start. And you're not expected to know everything, because like you said, when you get out of college, you think you know everything, and you don't.
Right. No, and also, Miss, I'm a very, I'm loyal to my students. if anybody says anything negative about Baloo's from other campuses or whatever, I'm gonna stand up for this campus.
Go come and tell them, go come and work with us.
Right, well, Mr. Jorge Rodriguez, who came to interview.
Yes, he came to see you that day.
Right, he came to see me, and he says, oye, Barra, me dicen que ni me arrime aquí, que no venga. And I told him, look, well, it's completely different than what you hear. Unless you've been here, you don't know how rewarding it is to be here. It really is a good place to be at. Also, reflection on your own skills and your practices, like you just mentioned, man, that you're still learning. Exposure to new ideas. I think one of my strengths, man, is research. More than anything, I think I'm really good with research. So anything that you need me to do as far as new practices or whatever it is, I can database, of course, research. An incentive to stay current, personal satisfaction in sharing expertise, access to research, there you go, and new information through myself. Help with tasks and responsibilities while providing valuable hands-on experience for the intern. Assistance with developing community relationships and partnerships. Again, ma'am, on this, with help with tasks, miss, because I appreciate what you're doing, ma'am, I'm willing to work and do whatever it is, miss. I'm not afraid of hard work. And I think that's something that I can be proud of, because if you ask anybody that I've worked under, they will tell you that I'm a hard worker, miss. And I think that's something that...
If you care about kids and you work hard, sir, to me, that's the best thing you can do.
I still get emails. As a matter of fact, sir, from my former students, can you give me a letter of recommendation? And I think, well, there are 120 teachers there in that campus, and they're still asking me. That makes me feel incredible, man. One of my students, I've always worked with the LEP and the recent immigrant kids. One of my students came in from Mexico, very, very humble family, and she just graduated from UTRGV. And I saw on my Facebook, which I don't have anything on there, but I saw that somebody tagged me, and it was her, and she was graduating from to be a teacher, and time flies, because I thought she was my student like last year, and no, she's done with her bachelor's, and she went on and thanking my parents, her family, whatever, and she says, and Mr. Daniel Ibarra, because when I came from Mexico, he missed, no, hombre, casi quería llorar, because they don't forget, and we make a big impact in their
and
lives.
kids know when you truly invested in them. You can't fool them. They know
Right.
when you really care.
Right, and again, even the ones that are tough, you have to show them some, that you care about them.
I've
that
had
you
the
care.
toughest kids in my class. And I mean, I used to be at Austin when we had 1,500 kids there.
At Austin Middle School, right.
When the gangs and there was a lot of
Right.
gang fights. And I had those kids in my class, but they respected my
Right.
class.
Right,
Outside, there was something else.
Right.
There was something else.
right, miss.
So they need to know that. They need to know that you care. And once they know that, then they can do it. They'll do anything for you. And
Yeah.
they'll always remember, and they'll always thank you, you know.
They're loyal, miss. These kids are loyal. As loyal as we are to them, they will be loyal.
Yes.
I saw some kids at a barber shop this weekend that were my former students también, miss, and they were horrible in high school. But now they're barbers, and now, again, I have to tell them, man, I'm very proud of you. And now they're grown men, they're men, and but they still, yes, sir, still that respect that they have for us, miss. So I love the teaching profession, I really do. And I just feel that the reason I chose to be an administrator, because I feel not that we can make a different type of impact on the students. The overview, ma'am, of the practicum requirements: 3 45-minute TA required observations. This is the first. We will do reflections after the observations. After each observation, discuss with you the outcome of the given presentation. We have to do 160 hours of logged activities. Some of those activities include shadowing you, reviewing, analyze the campus improvement plan, curriculum development, interviews. For example, an interview with, I need to speak with Delinda because of the
PIMS.
she does the PIMS, for example. I thought Ms. Briones was the attendance clerk, but I don't think that's her title.
Yes.
It is?
Well, she's a clerk, and she does attendance.
Okay,
Mhm.
so with her, with Mr. Salinas, Mrs. Ramos, And even with the cafeteria lady, we can also do that. Continuing with the requirements, man, the planning documents, which I will give you copies of everything. The Texas exam, which I took in May, and I met the standard. Observation 1 consists of you, myself, and the camera. In other words, my UTRGV supervisor. And it's just going over the mentor training, the program requirements and expectations. Observation 2, if I'm not mistaken, is just myself and the supervisor. And what I had thought of this, because if I'm not mistaken, one of the things that we're gonna be pushing for in the next couple of weeks is TSI. So I figured that I might be able to help with targeting TSI student readiness and completion.
Awesome.
Also, I think some of these, I know resources were an issue with TSI. I think Ms. Mahan was having a hard time with generating resources, and the ELA teachers. I think I can research and be able to get some resources for that.
We recently ordered Apex, and one of the components in Apex has TSI reviews.
Okay.
I know SureScore, district has used SureScore for a while, but it's not the best resource. You know, I think one of the best resources is for teachers to take the test, so that they can understand. And the people that I've had, that I've seen who have the most impact on the kids is the ones that have taken it, so they immediately understand what the kids need to do.
Right.
And so, but we did order Apex. I know Ms. Ramos gave some new resources to Ms. Mahan, other than SureScore. There's gonna be some changes that we were aware of yesterday, we were made aware of yesterday. They're no longer gonna test the kids in the 8th grade. You know how they've been doing that? They're no longer gonna test them in the 8th grade, they're gonna wait until they're freshmen.
Is that because the passing rates are low?
No,
or?
because now for every student that passes TSI, it's gonna give us a point.
Oh, in the high school, at the high school level,
For
okay.
accountability.
And for the most part, middle schools already meet accountability generated, huh?
Yeah, well, they can meet it other ways, but they do, and so instead of doing that, they're gonna let us get the credit, because for us, it's hard.
Right. And is that just participation then, or is that,
No, they have to pass.
they have to pass it?
They have to pass one of the tests.
So I'm hoping to be able to work with that, with the TSI
So
administration
some of
and
that
whatever it
work, it's
requires.
already underway, so you can assist the ELA department, because, and Mr. Salinas is taking care of the TSI. So Mr. Salinas helps me with the early college, you can be working with the English department and with him on the TSI bridge, which we're planning for the first 2 weeks of June.
Well, that'll work.
Okay.
So that's what I'm gonna go over with observation 2 with the UTRGV supervisor.
Okay.
Observation 3, man, also with the UTRGV supervisor, it would be, I think we received the EOC results June 1st, if I'm not mistaken. And I think they all come in at the same time. I thought the ELA would come in a little bit before, but I
We're
think.
hoping that.
But yeah, I think the date that I saw on the schedule, yeah, on the TA schedule was June 1st. So the ELA 1, ELA 2, the biology, algebra, and the US history results, and data analysis, that's what I'm gonna focus observation 3 on. And I will gather that student data from each of the exams, and then analyze it based on the standards, and then create a plan of action to improve the areas of
How do
need.
you feel, I know in one of our conversations, in the last meeting that we had, we talked about target groups. And I know that we haven't got the results yet.
Right.
How do you feel about coming up with a projected target group for summer, based on what you know and how
Formative
you-
assessments
and how
or
you
whatever
work
it is
the
that we're
kid-
doing
and how
in
you
the
work
class.
with the kids and the attendance of the kids, and so that if you kind of already know, then not waste time. I mean, we hope, right? Sometimes kids surprise us.
Right.
So creating a plan of action would be, that's something that I can definitely that will definitely improve or benefit your department
Right,
to
right.
start working, because after this month, we only have, after June 1st, we have
2 weeks?
3 weeks, 2 weeks.
2 weeks, 3 weeks. The thing with the target groups, man, which we can, como dices, is I would feel, for me to say, this kid probably didn't pass, it kind of makes me feel a little bad that I might be,
Right.
right, yeah, that I might be right. But I think we have an idea, especially based on attendance, because again, I think these kids are sharp, but the attendance, if they don't receive the instruction, I think in history, it's a lot of things that you really have to know. You really have to know them, so if they're not here, they didn't receive that. But I can work with Mr. Norio and start maybe projecting, what kids we should
Well,
target.
maybe some of the kids that didn't test at all, they were
Right,
here for
right.
snapshot,
Right,
for the new cycle.
right.
I mean, those kids that haven't tested and they knew and we know that they were ours as of October 30th, those are the ones we want to test in June, because those are the ones that will be part of the accountability
Okay.
from the 2018,
Okay.
2019.
So students who did not test in May,
Or fall,
right, or fall,
or maybe fail and fall.
in fall, and did test.
You know, I mean, right now, we're talking about projected numbers, right? You're thinking, well, I want our kids to pass, and we do.
Right, right.
So you might have a few of those that you might think, well, I know that, I don't think so, right? But then you might have some that didn't test at all, that will test for the first time.
Right.
And those will be part of the accountability if they test in June
June.
and pass.
Okay.
And
So you're
then-
saying like a Tiffany, for example, who did not test, she is snapshot,
Yes.
and
Yes.
she hasn't tested at all.
Right, so you wanna work with Tiffany to not just approach his needs, but to
Right,
masters.
okay.
Because that's why, and I think Maria, isn't Maria Cantu another one?
Yes.
Right.
She would be another one that
She
I
would
think
be
could be
another.
masters. You're
So
right, you're
that's,
right, you're
those are the
right.
kids you wanna work with right now, because for sure, you're
For
gonna
sure.
test them in
For
June.
sure they're gonna test, yes.
And they wanna test it.
They do. And I think they feel confident. I think they feel confident. I know Tiffany's absent quite a bit, but when she's here, she's really good, miss. She's really good.
Right now, she's all excited about prom, but,
She is. I think she's doing excellent, miss, but I told her, maybe if you don't call it prom, you might wanna, not call it prom because it sounds too formal, and I think some of the kids might not,
Yeah.
might think, well, I don't have,
They can't,
I,
yeah.
so I told her, maybe call it something different.
there you go.
So that way, Monday?
More.
Exactly,
That's
so
how we
that's,
get it in Austin.
right, right. So she said,
I
yeah,
attended a morgue when I was in high school.
was it the more you asking the guy out, miss?
Yes.
Oh, wow. Yeah,
I had been dating the guy, sir, for 10 years, so.
Okay. Well, I
It was
never
okay.
attended more because nobody ever asked me.
I know.
But those things, we're doing them also because we want to get the kids excited about attendance, which is something that you were mentioning,
Right.
about coming, I know Tiffany, it's been difficult this year for her.
Right,
So right now she's all excited, and so things like that,
That motivates her to be here, miss. It
Like,
really does.
So this guy right here, he's going to the collegiate academies,
Right.
I
I didn't expect, the field trips, miss, for next week, I heard that it was like 40 kids that signed up for it's the STEM camp. And then the following for the entrepreneurship camp.
Yes.
So I think those things that the school's doing for these kids really makes them want to be here. Go ahead, Ms. Wood.
Mariana, Ms. Mars. Okay, all right, okay.
Alex is mine.
Commissioner, Mr. Vasquez.
Alex's wife? Yes.
I think the Student of the Week nominations that we're doing as well, Miss, some kids keep getting re-nominated, but I think that's another thing that's working. The new kids that we have are really good. Most of the new kids that we're getting recently That kid, Demond Mannix, Santos is really good. ¿Quién más entró, Mrs. Tenorio?
I think Derek Arizales, I talked to the English teachers about Karen and Talia Barcenas because they weren't doing too well in my class, but then I see how they're doing well, so then if we can collaborate, because I know I had brought up, the issue of if they're doing the reading scores and we can know what reading level they're in, then we can be better challenging them or, you know, scaffolding where their needs. So I know that the English teachers, I think were the ones getting it, so I am gonna go ahead and meet up with them and ask them for that, but they told me that they're very,
Intelligent?
well, that they're like pretty far into the book and some of their work is pretty well, so.
I walked into the ELA class the other day and the kids were reading, you know, so.
I think that's something that if we do anything this week,
Read.
we have to read.
I agree.
Because, you know, it's so important for our kids and they need it so much. And if we can develop an interest for reading and these kids, we would have done the greatest thing for them.
Yeah, I mean, the way they read is gonna be the way that they write.
Yes.
So that's what helps them as far as,
And this SB 149 is not gonna be around anymore.
right, that's another thing that we let the
So-
kids know is you can't depend on just.
I'm gonna pass 310
Right,
only, yeah.
right.
The state is gonna take it away from us,
Right.
so. Okay.
So for the observation 3, man, what I'm gonna focus on again is gonna be the EOC data and disaggregating that data and creating a plan of action, especially with Ms. Tenorio.
Okay.
We also have to complete 3 projects, ma'am. The first one of them we have to designate as a special school improvement project. And I think that I labeled the increasing student attendance with the activities that we want to do for 6th period as that project. I think the first thing we have to do is survey the students to determine their interests as opposed to us just saying, okay, well, I'm gonna have this club or whatever it is.
Or ask them for suggestions, like what would you like to do 6th period?
Right.
You know,
I
because-
just feel that sometimes they're everywhere and if we choose one, they're gonna feel a little bit offended because, some of the things that they're thinking, it's gonna be, either hard to think of an agenda to do every day or it's gonna, so I was thinking maybe giving them 3 options, like, okay, and then having them vote so that way they still find.
Eventually,
some type
they're
of
gonna vote.
ownership.
Eventually, I think we can post the top suggested activities, and then kids could sign up for, and then we can see what it is, what their main interests are. And then the departments, I know math is already doing board games, for example, and their math, they have to do with math. They're doing, I think, Monopoly, and for them to get the resources, what they did was tie it to TEKS. And there's learning in Monopoly and in chess, because it's strategy or whatever it is. So they submitted that to Mrs. Gutierrez, and then she'll be able to provide those.
And you can,
Those
just because the
resources.
kids choose something doesn't mean that you can't change it, like.
I think we can alternate also,
Yeah, you
like
can-
1
you
week
can
this
do-
and then now we can go ahead and it's up, so that way
Yes.
it doesn't, it
The
stays.
idea is to make it
you.
fun for them, like
Yes.
anything that you wanna do, make it fun for them, because, it has to be something that they wanna do. Because if not, then
Right.
it's not gonna work.
Yeah, well, what I had thought is exactly what Mr. Nodi is saying, ma'am. I think some of these kids, they say, well, I'm gonna have to go to this activity every day. I think we would have to come up with something where we can take attendance, or we have to collaborate so that, you know, today, Mr. Escalante is going to be at the yoga, or whatever it is. I don't know if you like
Health club.
yoga, Escalante.
So that way it's not so much like, oh, I don't do yoga.
No, it's not.
But if we say health club, like one day would be like, I don't know, running or like
I love
soccer.
when she did that, the kids would go,
Well,
the
they were,
boys would go.
you know what, Mr. Nodi, they were telling me yesterday, yes, she had candles and she had, the yoga music.
Music,
And they were all,
and some of the kids that were attending, they really needed it.
Yeah,
Right?
and then I feel like less, you know, I'm like, yes, because you have the emotions like cooped up and you don't really pay attention to your body or like your breathing and you're just alterado the whole time. And they're like, yeah, they had told me that in, one of my board, like, when they go talk to people.
That they're
the
tense, that they're
sessions.
tense.
Yeah,
No, I might need yoga myself.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I mean, I think if we do this right, and Mr. Noti's gonna be helping me also in this, I think this can be successful and hopefully increase student attendance. So what we're gonna do is create activities for the last period, as you know, of the day based on student interest. I want a conference with each department to have them adopt a student interest activity for the last period of each school day, the month of June. That is the schedule, is that correct, Ms.? Assist with obtaining resources departments require for successful implementation of the student interest activities. Assess the impact of the project on student attendance. Once it's done, if it works, then I know you guys had done it first period, but I think the last period, I know some teachers were saying, well, the kids don't stay, but then that is the purpose of this, so they can stay till sixth period.
And the purpose is to get them involved. If you get them involved, like Tiffany right now, she's here. Like she
Right.
doesn't fight to go home every day like she was. Why? Because she has something to do. So if you give them something to do, that's the idea. Now, we're gonna try it, and I don't know if it's gonna be perfect,
Right.
but definitely, we can, we can even talk about this, with the teachers on Thursday, because I know Mr.
Salinas?
Salinas is gonna do the Google training,
See,
but I don't think it's gonna take that long.
it won't. Yeah, it's the
So
Google
we
OneDrive or
can use
something.
that time to talk to the teachers about some of these things.
I'll do that. It's Monday,
I have about
5 minutes?
20 minutes to get to my meeting.
Okay.
I told you I had a meeting.
Okay.
And not that I want to.
No, that's okay, miss. Do you have maybe 3 minutes, miss?
Yes,
Okay.
definitely.
All right. So that's the project one is. The second one will be the June Star administration. I plan on working with Mrs. Ramos, and what I figure that entails is planning for use of classrooms for the testing schedule. I imagine she reviews the student PEIMS data to know what you have to either code the students as, or what accommodations they require, or what supports they require. Create the student tester list, create the list of test administrators and proctors, and also create the testing sessions. So I'm hoping Mr. Nori will also help me in sometimes allowing me to go and work with Mrs. Ramos.
The good thing is, like you said, it's not too many kids. And I know we're gonna do well, so we're gonna have even less kids than last year.
Hopefully, miss. Also, and the third one would be oversee the operation of night school, miss. Yesterday I felt like, well, I mean, I'm not doing much, but when I spoke to the parent, then I felt, okay, I did something, because I spoke to the parent. Which includes overseeing the facility operations, conduct informal walkthroughs, just to make sure really that the kids are doing, that are, you know, that.
Or if the kids, or the teacher having an issue with a student.
Right,
they'll let you know.
Secure transportation for the students. I know the transportation department did not know that night school was still happening. So on Monday, the bus, I think, was really late. I don't remember what time it was, but it's what the bus driver, I think, told Mr. Salinas was that they didn't know that we still had, I don't know, I mean, some
Then we give
miscommunication.
them a calendar.
Also, oversee custodial duties, make sure that Ray's working. No, I don't know this. And collaborate with school safety officer, Mr. Salinas, to ensure and maintain safety.
I told Mr. Salinas to give you his number in case you need to reach one of us at any time,
Okay.
at any point. He lives close by, he can come.
Okay.
I don't live as close as he does, but I can also come.
AP Salinas.
AP Salinas.
Okay.
Or where is he live? I don't know where he lives. I
Okay.
think he lives close by. I'm not sure.
I know security guard Salinas lives close by,
Yes,
but he's here.
but he's
so-
here.
yeah.
So one of us, if any time, at any point you need us, you call us right away,
Okay.
and we'll come.
Thank you, Mrs. Sanchez, for being my mentor. You gave me the opportunity to try and make a positive impact on our students by hiring me in the summer. You allow us to provide input on how we positively impact these students. I'll tell you what this, how can I say this? Somebody says, I'm surprised or pleasantly surprised that here at this campus, they allow you guys to, for example, Mrs. Ramos with the testing, do you think the students should test online or not? Do you think? And that, you know, because we know the students really more than the administrators, because we're with them more. So the fact that you all give us that input, I think, is for the benefit of the students, and it also makes us feel that we have a voice. You've given me the opportunity to learn from you, ma'am, and I sincerely appreciate it, Mrs. Sanchez. I know you're busy, I'll let you go, I appreciate you being here, and then maybe later on we can debrief and you can let me know what other things you'd like me to do.
Okay,
All right, thank you,
Thank
Mrs.
you.
Sanchez. You have a good day then.
I'm sorry.
No, miss, I know we're very busy.
I know you also need to do this for your program, so. but
Thank you, Mrs. Sanchez.
Thank you. And thank you for all your help. Bye, Mr. Escalante.
Mrs. Tenorio, I don't know if you can help me with these videos here. I'm not sure how to pause this or I know it had to run 45 minutes and it ran, I think, 30. You just pushed it, right?